There's a moment almost every human being faces. You are accused, questioned, or subtly attacked. Maybe it's a colleague at work saying, "I'm not sure your plan was really thought through." Maybe it's a partner whispering, "You don't care about me anymore." Maybe it's a friend dropping the quiet jab, "You always think you're right." And in that moment, almost without thinking, the average person does what they've been conditioned to do since childhood. They defend themselves. They rush to explain, clarify, justify. They pour out words like a drowning man gasping for air. But this, Machiavelli would warn, is the instant you lose everything. Because to defend yourself is not just to answer, it is to concede. It is to admit that the other person has the authority, to put you on trial and you are simply a witness, scrambling to be believed. Machiavelli in The Prince understood something brutal. Truth matters far less than perception. If you rush to defend yourself, you are no longer in command of perception. You have accepted the enemy's frame. Think about it. The one who accuses sets the rules of the game. You, in defending, accept those rules. Even if your defense is flawless, you still look smaller because explanation carries the scent of desperation. As Carl Jung wrote, "The one who looks outside dreams. The one who looks inside awakens." Defense is looking outward, pleading for others to see you clearly. Power begins the moment you stop asking to be seen. At its root, the instinct to defend comes from fear. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of losing approval. Fear of being seen as guilty. But here lies the paradox. The very act of trying to erase the appearance of weakness only multiplies it. People are not rational analyzers of evidence. They are emotional, interpreters of behavior. And the behavior of defense screams insecurity. The more words you use to clear your name, the more guilty you appear. Because only the weak need to plead for innocence. This is projection at work. When someone attacks you, they are often projecting their own insecurity onto you. The trap is that if you rush to explain, you confirm their projection, you validate their story, you become the character they cast you as. Imagine you're at a gathering and someone says, "He always thinks he's the smartest in the room." The average man jumps in. "That's not true. I was just sharing ideas." And with every word, the room silently agrees with the jab. He looks rattled. He looks small, but the Machiavellian man doesn't defend. He smiles, faintly, or stays silent. The jab hangs in the air like smoke. Now the room wonders, why didn't he react? Did he not hear it? Or is he simply above it? Suddenly, the accuser looks insecure. "Not you." A partner says, "You don't care about me anymore." The average man panics, spilling reassurances, long speeches, promises, but the man of power pauses. Calmly he says, "That's not how I see it." No explanation, no emotional performance. The silence after those words makes her feel her own accusation echo back at her. Now she questions her own tone. In a meeting, someone undermines you. "I'm not sure your proposal is realistic." The average worker leans forward defensively, proving every detail. The Machiavellian operator leans back. He waits. Then he says, "Interesting. What's your proposal?" The attacker now on the spot must perform. The frame flips instantly. There's an old aphorism often passed down like hidden treasure. Your friends don't need explanations, and your enemies will never believe them. This is why silence is stronger than defense. Friends already understand you. Enemies will twist whatever you say. But silence does something extraordinary. It denies the attacker any oxygen. Their words suffocate in the air unreturned. And soon, the crowd watching begins to doubt them, not you. When you defend, you may clear up the immediate accusation, but you weaken your aura. You show you can be baited. You reveal that your self-image depends on the approval of others. But when you don't defend, something else happens. You leave a void, and the human mind cannot resist filling a void. People will interpret your silence as strength, as mystery, as hidden confidence. They will overestimate you precisely because you said nothing. This is why Machiavelli taught rulers never to chase the appearance of goodness, but to project the aura of strength. Because perception is not won through arguments, it is forged in silence. Defense is a trap. It feels noble, but it is weakness dressed in reason. The man who defends himself lowers himself. The man who does not forces the world to defend him instead. And once you understand this, you see the game differently. Every accusation, every jab, every test is not an attack. To counter it is a stage where silence can crown you untouchable. There is a mistake people make when they hear the word silence. They imagine absence, passivity, weakness. The silence of someone who doesn't know what to say. But the silence that shifts power is not absence. It is presence. It is an aura. It is the ability to let a moment expand until others feel the weight of your stillness. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. People do not respond to truth. They respond to perception. And nothing distorts perception more effectively than silence. Think of silence, not as doing nothing, but as doing something. The loud cannot understand. When accused, when tested, when baited, the average man rushes into words. His tongue becomes his leash. But the Machiavellian man uses silence as a scalpel. He lets the other person reveal their insecurity, their desperation, their instability. The longer he waits, the more their words unravel. This is not retreat, this is controlled dominance. Silence is the unseen hand that pushes people into exposing themselves. Why is silence so effective? Because humans are deeply uncomfortable with gaps. Our nervous systems crave resolution. When someone speaks to you and you do not reply, their brain races to fill the void. They replay what they said. They question themselves. They wonder if they crossed a line. And when you hold silence with composure, not fidgeting, not smirking, not shifting, you become unreadable, unpredictable. And unpredictability is terrifying because it forces others to imagine what you might do. The irony is this: you don't have to do anything. The silence does the work for you. Picture a meeting. Everyone is talking over one another. Ideas fly. Energy is frantic. Then someone asks the silent man for his opinion. He pauses, looks at the room, waits. The silence stretches. Suddenly the room quiets. Everyone leans in. They crave his words. When he finally speaks, every syllable lands like a hammer. This is aura, the power of silence turned into command. People don't respect him because he spoke often, but because he spoke rarely. In relationships, silence becomes even more dangerous. When a man is always available, always texting back instantly, always filling the space, he becomes predictable. Predictable is safe, but safe is forgettable. Now imagine the opposite. The man who withdraws without drama. No angry words, no long explanations, simply a calm absence. That void becomes unbearable. The female mind races. Did I do something wrong? Has he lost interest? Why isn't he reaching out? This is not cruelty. It is contrast. Warmth and presence, followed by silence and absence, create emotional whiplash far more powerful than constant attention. As Freud once wrote, we are governed more by memory than reality. She will remember the silence longer than the words. Mystery is not built by oversharing. It is built by withholding. The man who reveals everything, explains every thought, fills every silence. He becomes transparent, predictable, easy to map. But the man who withholds, who lets others wonder, becomes mythic. Because people do not chase what they fully understand. They chase what remains just out of reach. This is the secret Jung hinted at in his work on archetypes. The shadow, the unknowable force inside the human psyche, attracts because it cannot be defined. Silence makes you the embodiment of that shadow. Present, powerful and untouchable noise is everywhere. Constant opinions, endless explanations, voices screaming for validation. Stillness cuts through that chaos like a blade. When everyone reacts, the one who does not becomes the center of gravity. When everyone rushes to justify, the one who remains calm becomes the anchor. This is why Machiavelli's rule matters. Silence doesn't just protect you, it elevates you. It makes you appear larger than life. Because in a noisy world, restraint is mistaken for strength. But silence alone is not enough. It must be paired with presence. A nervous silence is weakness. A composed silence is power. Presence comes from how you hold your body, your gaze, your energy. Do you fidget when you pause, or do you let your stillness dominate the room? Do you look away when accused, or do you calmly hold their eyes until they flinch? Aura is built not by words, but by how you make others feel in your silence. Here is the deepest secret. When you embrace silence, you stop being a man in the room. You become a question. People replay your pauses. They interpret your stillness. They wonder what you meant by saying nothing at all. And the human mind always overestimates what it cannot explain. This is why silence is feared. It transforms you into an unresolved mystery, and unresolved mysteries linger far longer than answers. The power of silence is not about withdrawing from life. It is about commanding its rhythm. To the average man, silence is emptiness. To the Machiavellian, silence is a weapon. Use it well, and you will no longer need to chase power. You will become the figure around whom power organizes itself, because in the end, words fade, but aura built in silence remains. Silence alone can disarm, but the Machiavellian strategist goes one step further. He does not only resist the attack, he turns it into a weapon. Machiavelli called this the turn of the blade. Never meet a sword with a shield. Let your enemy's strike collapse into their own weakness. In human interaction, this means something precise. Don't defend the accusation, reframe. Defense keeps you locked in someone else's frame. You are playing on their battlefield, chasing their approval. Reframing seizes the moment and twists it. You don't fight the narrative. They do, instead of proving them wrong. You make them appear insecure, emotional, or envious. And here's the paradox. The attacker's aggression becomes proof of your strength. Because only the powerful attract attacks worth launching. Humans instinctively look for social cues: who appears strong, who appears weak. When you defend yourself, the signal is weakness. When you stay silent, the signal is mystery. But when you reframe, the signal is dominance. The crowd watching doesn't see someone accused. They see someone untouchable, someone who turned fire into fuel. It is not about the truth of the words. It is about who controls the interpretation. And in every power dynamic, interpretation is everything. Let's explore how this looks in different arenas. Accusation: you're so arrogant. Weak reply: no, I'm not. I was just trying to defense. Submission: reframe strange. How confidence makes some people uncomfortable. Now you're no longer guilty, you've exposed the insecurity behind their words. Accusation: you're manipulative. Weak reply: I'm not, I was only trying to reframe. Only people who can't be influenced say that. Suddenly she wonders, was I being predictable? Did he just see through me? Accusation: your ideas are unrealistic. Weak reply: I have data to back it up, let me explain. Reframe: bold ideas always look unrealistic to cautious minds. Now the room doesn't see you as reckless, they see you as visionary. Machiavelli's arsenal offers 3 surgical tools. Silence, the default. You let the attack collapse in its own emptiness. The longer the silence, the heavier the accuser looks. Deflection. You shift the frame without acknowledging the accusation. Example: someone says, "You're fake." You respond, "Everyone says that when they stop getting what they want now." The attention isn't on you, it's on their bitterness. Precision cuts. Short, sharp statements that end the game in one move. Confidence upsets the insecure. Not everyone can handle truth. I don't owe you authenticity. Each is a blade that cuts deeper than any defense could. Psychology tells us long explanations breed doubt, short statements breed authority. The man of power does not ramble. He does not prove. He drops one line that shifts the frame, then leaves the silence to amplify it. People remember the cut more than they ever would remember your explanations. They replay it. They question themselves. They start to see you not as someone on trial, but as someone above the court. Here lies the brilliance. Reframing doesn't just protect you, it destabilizes your attacker. They expected you to flinch. They expected you to argue. Instead, you made their attack look like an insecurity. Now they scramble, they over-explain, they fidget, they push harder. And the harder they push, the weaker they appear to the crowd. You didn't need to destroy them. You simply let them destroy themselves in public. Machiavelli's cold wisdom. This is why Machiavelli warned rulers never to waste time defending reputations. Because defense makes you look desperate, but inversion, turning attacks into mirrors, makes you look untouchable. The true strategist dares to be misunderstood, because the misunderstood man carries mystery, and mystery is more dangerous than clarity. To defend is to kneel. To stay silent is to endure. But to reframe that is to dominate. Every attack becomes an opportunity. Every insult becomes a mirror. Every accusation becomes your stage. And the Machiavellian man does not play defense. He does not play by their rules. He makes his enemies perform their own collapse, while he stands calm, untouched, elevated. That is the turn of the blade. That is reframing as power. Aura is not charm. It is not charisma. It is the invisible atmosphere you carry, the weight people feel in your presence, even before you speak. It comes from restraint, from composure, from the rare ability to remain unmoved in a world addicted to reaction. Machiavelli and the Prince put it simply: it is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be. Both fear here does not mean terror, it means respect, rooted in unpredictability. Love can fade. Fear commands consistency. Aura is what makes people cautious before they speak your name. It is what turns silence into myth. Aura is not built overnight. It is constructed stone by stone, moment by moment, restraint in reaction. Every time you resist the urge to defend, to explain, to prove, you add to your aura. Your stillness becomes your armor. Consistency in boundaries. The man who sets standards and enforces them calmly becomes untouchable. Boundaries are not about control over others. They are about control over yourself. Economy of words. The fewer words you use, the more weight they carry. Aura is built not by filling the air, but by making people wait for your voice. Presence in stillness. How you hold your body matters. A man who can sit in silence without fidgeting, who can hold eye contact without strain, who can endure tension without breaking, that man radiates power without speaking. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The Stoics taught that reputation is a shadow. The man of power does not chase shadows. He focuses on his inner fortress, his self-command. This is where Machiavelli and Stoicism intersect. Machiavelli focused on perception. Aurelius on inner discipline. Combine both, and you become untouchable outwardly, unreadable, inwardly unshakable. History remembers figures who embodied aura not because they spoke the loudest, but because they spoke the least. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor who wrote meditations in private, not manifestos in public. His restraint gave him an aura that still echoes centuries later. Machiavelli himself, dismissed, accused, even exiled, yet his silence, and writings turned him into myth leaders and thinkers across time. Those who never rushed to defend, who allowed mystery to surround them, who let silence become their reputation. Aura is timeless because it is rare. Humans fear what they cannot predict. And the man who never explains himself, who never justifies, who never reveals, all becomes unreadable. Unpredictability forces caution. Caution becomes respect. Respect turns into power. This is why predictable men, those who always clarify, always apologize, always explain, become easy to manipulate. They are open books, and open books are skimmed, not studied. The untouchable man, however, is not a book. He is a locked manuscript, and everyone wants to know what's inside. Speak less, observe more. The less you reveal, the more others reveal to you. Do not defend your reputation. Let others argue while you remain silent. Disappear strategically. Absence is as important as presence. Too much of either kills mystery. Turn accusations into mirrors. Every attack is an opportunity to expose. Insecurity not to prove yourself. Control your body language. Stillness is louder than fidgeting. Calmness is more powerful than noise. These steps repeated over time create not a tactic, but a reputation. And reputation once built becomes self-sustaining. The final evolution is this: you no longer chase influence. You no longer argue for approval. You no longer fight for dominance. You become gravity. People adjust their orbits around you. They measure their words in your presence. They hesitate before challenging you, not because you silence them once, but because your very existence carries weight. This is the untouchable aura. It cannot be bought. It cannot be begged for. It is earned through restraint, silence, and the refusal to kneel before the court of public opinion. Aura is not performance. It is discipline. It is the quiet fire of a man who does not chase validation, who does not explain, who does not collapse. To live by Machiavelli's darkest rule is to accept this. You do not win by convincing others of your goodness. You win by becoming the figure. They cannot define the presence. They cannot ignore the myth they cannot control. And once you reach this point, words are no longer your weapon. Your aura is Machiavelli's darkest rule is brutally simple. He who explains submits. He who does not becomes untouchable. To defend yourself is to kneel. To stay silent is to command. To reframe is to dominate. And when you build these habits consistently, you no longer need to prove anything, because your presence becomes the proof. Most men waste their lives chasing approval, begging to be understood, pleading to be liked. But the man of power understands something deeper. Respect is born not from what you give, but from what you refuse to surrender. Silence, absence, and aura aren't tricks. They're disciplines. They separate the forgettable from the unforgettable, the follower from the force. When someone tests or questions you, remember, you don't need to explain. You need to endure. And in that endurance, you become more than a man. You become myth. Subscribe for more timeless wisdom and powerful insights.